you're listening to Abstract AF. I'm Sneha Jaswal, and in this episode, I'm going to be reviewing the 6-issue comic series Night of the Ghoul by Scott Snyder. Now, overall, the mood of this horror series is very 80s. It's about a man called Forrest Inman and his son Orson, who are visiting a sanatorium to track down a film director that they believe made the greatest horror film ever. Only problem, the movie never made it to the big screen. The film director is called T.F. Merritt, who's quite sinister to look at and will get readers to start suspecting him from the first panel he's introduced. Next, we get some glimpses of this horror film called Night of the Ghoul, made by T.F. Merritt, which starts off during World War II and is about an ancient creature that grows stronger by feeding on the dead. Forrest Inman and Orson have some footage of this film, but they want to know from T.F. Merritt where the rest of the reel is so that they can show his masterpiece to the world. Now, the artwork of this comic is in dark tones, bringing a very classic horror vibe, with some stark tones of red that stands out against black and yellow shades. In contrast, whenever we are shown the story of the horror film during World War II, the panels are in black and white, offering an interesting break and clear demarcation between the past and the present so that the readers aren't confused over the timelines. Now, the problem with the first issue is that it's so small that you don't really get any sense of what's happening. So it's best that if you want to read this series, just get all 6 issues. I don't think it'll take more than an hour to finish it all. Now, there are 2 father and son subplots that run in this comic. One is that of Mr. Inman and his son trying to crack the mystery of this old lost horror film, and the other is that of T.F. Merritt and his father. The director, who's at a sanatorium pretty sick, claims his father was a victim of this ghoul that features in the film and says that his film was based on real events. He then goes on to narrate his story, warning Inman that the sanatorium isn't what it appears to be. Honestly, it's the artwork that keeps things intriguing because plot-wise, Scott Snyder unfortunately uses tried and tested horror tropes and there's nothing shocking, especially not in the first few issues. Some of the most gruesome things or the disturbing events that take place in the past are simply narrated by T.F. Merritt. What would have been more horrifying was if Snyder had chosen to illustrate these in the comic issue instead of just having a character talk about it. What really works for this story is how Snyder and team explore the historical roots of the titular demon, the Ghoul. So in issue 3, we have a professor who is well versed in the subject of ancient demons explain what kind of an entity this Ghoul is, how he has a sinister cult kind of a following, and how there is also a counter group that seeks to keep such forces in check. There's significant mystery over where exactly the Ghoul is in the present, and you have this dual narratives going on throughout the series. One is that of a young T.F. Merritt trying to save his father from the clutches of a demon in the past, and the other is about Forrest Inman and his son being in danger in the present as they try to get themselves entangled with this horror film. Unfortunately, for those who are used to reading a lot of horror stories or watching them, the climax is quite predictable, and like I said earlier, the only thing that will keep you hooked to this comic series is the fact that it has some fantastic old school comic book art and trippy colors in between. If you've read the American Vampire series by Scott Snyder, you're going to be massively disappointed with The Ghoul because it just doesn't have the kind of blood and gore you would expect from a dark horror comic series. Although the plot is mildly intriguing and could make a very nice mini horror series if done the right way. It's a quick little horror comic series without much character development or plot development for that matter. I would recommend that you read this comic series only if you're running out of options of reading good old school horror comics. It's a 3 on 5 from me. And yeah, that's my quick review of the 6-issue comic series Night of the Ghoul with some fantastic artwork by Francesco Francavilla. Thank you for listening. Talk to you the next time.